Hey everyone, how's it going? I'm back with another video, and today I wanted to talk about this thing that's known around the Stanford campus, and I'm sure at other colleges, called the sophomore slump. Basically, the idea of this is that a lot of times students at Stanford go through sort of like a reevaluation of what they want to get out of their Stanford experience, and sometimes feel a little unsatisfied with it. They can feel stagnant, feel like it's not quite what they expected it to be, and this usually happens around sophomore year. And a big reason for this is because our freshman year, there's a lot of resources put into making sure that we have a really good experience, making sure that we develop a really great community. All freshman dorms a lot of times end up being very close, and they stick close to each other. And basically, what ends up happening is Stanford has what's known as the draw, which is basically a lottery system that determines where you're going to live year by year. And the thing with this draw is that you can only draw with three of your friends. So Stanford takes all this time like training freshman RAs, making sure that we have trips such as like the ski trip and scavenger hunt into San Francisco, and all these things that kind of foster a community within our freshman circles. Um, and after we make these communities of like 20 people or whatnot, everybody gets spread into different parts of the campus. And instead of seeing a bunch of your friends every day, you end up being with a couple of your friends that you end up getting closer to, but it's not quite as much range. You're not meeting people every day. Everything just feels a little less exciting. Um, and on top of that, courses get harder. People go deeper into their majors, and that can mean that the classes end up being harder, and there's just a lot more stress and a lot less excitement going around of people meeting everybody and whatnot. And personally, my experience was as the following. In a previous video, I mentioned that my fall quarter sophomore year was particularly hard. I ended up getting a little bit burnt out. And that was because I took three of the Stanford CS core classes. These three courses were stats and probability for computer science, the mathematical foundations for computer science, and also the first systems course for computer science that Stanford offers. Um, and overall, this was a lot of work. I remember the summer before that year, I was trying to get like a part-time job tutoring kids about programming through this startup that some Stanford alumni had founded. And when I was interviewing for that tutoring position, they asked me what courses I planned to take in the fall. And when I told them that I was going to take CS 107, 109, and 103, they told me, speaking from experience after having gone through that it was probably too much to handle and a big course load that I didn't necessarily need to take. But I ended up deciding to take it because, like I mentioned before, I didn't start programming until the winter quarter of my freshman year. And during my freshman year, I saw a lot of people taking these courses and knocking them out a bit early, and also starting to get internships for the summer after their freshman year. And I know like you get the advice that you shouldn't compare yourself to other people, and that's really good advice because a lot of times some students at Stanford, they're just very ahead of the curve, and you should just focus on your own thing. But at the same time, when you literally live with them and spend a bunch of hours with them, it's a little hard to do that. So I mostly wanted to prove to myself like, okay, if I could get through this quarter, then I know that I definitely can get through the rest of the major and that it will be the right fit for me. So I ended up going through with it, and it turned out to be a lot of work, obviously. Um, Problem sets took a long time, and then just having assignments, 3 assignments a week that usually uh, I wouldn't be able to finish comfortably unless I had like 3 days. It was tough, and then when you have to factor in the fact that there's midterms on top of the assignments and everything, it took a lot of time and a lot of energy to be able to keep up with the classes. And because of that, I started sleeping less because I told myself, okay, well, I have this problem set, I need to stay up. It's okay if I go to sleep like at like 2 a.m. because I'll get my work done and it'll be fine. But then midterms come along, it's like, okay, you just finished your assignment at 2 a.m., but you still need to study for these tests. So you end up staying up late, like 5 or whatever, and you tell yourself, okay, it's just for the midterm. But then it just keeps on snowballing and snowballing, and eventually you're just like going to sleep really late, waking up late, potentially missing lunch if you wake up too late, and that started happening a bit. And on top of all that, during my sophomore year, I lived in this part of campus called Suites, and Suites is known for having very good food because instead of eating at the dining halls that are associated with directly with Stanford dining halls, we basically have what are called these dining societies, where we have this chef that cooks for about 50 of us. And the dining society that I ate at always had really good desserts. Basically, like these donut holes filled with Nutella, some really good muffins, cookies, um, that kind of stuff. And personally, I just have a really big sweet tooth. I love desserts a little bit too much. And with the stress of school going on, it was just really hard to not overeat on that every day, really. And on top of that, eating badly, just not sleeping as much. I also stopped working out as much, if at all, really. I like running a lot. I think cardio, it makes me feel good. I like it a lot. And because I wanted to put most of my time into school, making sure that I can keep up with these classes and prove to myself that I can keep up with them, I kind of made some sacrifices with that. So my sleeping schedule wasn't good. My eating wasn't good. I wasn't working out the way I should be. I wasn't hanging out with as many friends because I had homework to do. A lot of people that I met my freshman year, like I said before, they're different parts of campuses. It's harder to see them. And basically, this all culminated up into my finals that year. So finals was around like December 10th, December 11th, and whatnot. And I remember the Friday before finals, I was working all night on one of the more infamous assignments in the Stanford core, heap allocator. This is the final assignment in CS 107, and I stayed up all night in a computer cluster with my friend, and I remember we didn't finish until like 9 a.m. and so we finish, we get out of the cluster, we have breakfast, and then we kind of just go to sleep. Um, and then I remember going to sleep that night, or at that point it was Saturday already. And I remember going to sleep Saturday night, going on to Sunday with feeling like a lot of pressure around my stomach. And I woke up on Sunday, um, and I felt like I was very nauseous. I had a very big stomach pain. It's like you really have to go to the restroom, but then when I would try to go to the restroom, like I just couldn't, and it was just very uncomfortable. I tried taking like Pepto-Bismol, stuff like that, some Advils. I started like heating up a bit, but I wasn't really sure what was going on. And on top of that, I had my first final the next day on Monday. So I was feeling really, really sick. I had this final that I hadn't really been able to study for because I was working on my final assignments all Friday and sleeping on Saturday. So I just wasn't sure what to do. So I emailed my professor and I was like, hey, I feel really sick. I'm not sure what to do. But he never responded to me that day. So I just said, okay, I literally can't study. If anything, if I had to take this test, the best thing that I could do is try to sleep this off. And so I tried doing that. But then Monday morning around 8 a.m., I woke up and I still didn't feel well. I tried eating a little bit, but I really couldn't. My stomach hurt, and I was like, okay, I literally can't take this test. My professor hasn't emailed me back. If I fail, oh well, there's really nothing I can do. I need to go to get some help. So I Ubered to Baden, which is basically the health center on campus, and I told them my symptoms and whatnot, and they told me that it was probably appendicitis. So I took another Uber to the emergency room, and they did an ultrasound on my stomach and whatnot, confirmed that it was appendicitis. And that very same day, the day that I was supposed to take my final for CS 103, I got my appendix removed. It all really happened. It happened fast because I was sick on Sunday, woke up on Monday, still felt sick, and then went to the hospital, and had surgery that same day. Um, and my parents were able to drive up and be with and make sure that I was good. I woke up the next day and on Tuesday, and I asked the doctor, and it was like, hey, I still have these other two finals that I could potentially take. I was just put under with anesthetics, so I was thinking, okay, can this affect my performance in the finals? What should I do? And then eventually during that day, the professor got back to me, the one that I had emailed before, and told me, hey, your option is you can take an incomplete, which is basically like we'll credit you for everything that you've done prior to the final, but you have to take the final in an upcoming quarter within a year, and then we'll factor in your performance on that final along with your performance with the rest of the coursework for this quarter in order to give you your grade. So basically what ended up happening was I took this really hard quarter. Stanford alumni told me that probably I shouldn't be taking all these classes at once. And what ended up happening was I got sick right on finals week, and I wasn't able to take any of those finals. I got incomplete on all three of them, and basically that meant that I had to take all three of those finals in the next quarter on top of the finals that I was going to have for whatever new classes I was going to take. So I share this story of taking all these classes, neglecting health, exercising, eating well, sleeping well, um, just to show that in the end, if you're not healthy, you literally can't take your finals, and that's just going to backtrack you more. It was super stressful the next few quarters to have to basically do all my coursework while making sure that I was on top of the 3 other classes that I was taking the quarter before. And it was just a lot. It could have been avoided if I had listened to other people's advice and maybe just taken one of those classes at a future date. Could have tackled 2 at the same time. Maybe that would have been more manageable. But and on top of that, maybe if I had taken better care of my body, then I wouldn't have been in that situation. The advice that I can offer from this experience really is make sure that you care for your body, care for your health, your mental health as well. Make sure that you are in a state where you can do your coursework at all. Because if you don't watch out for these things, then you risk neglecting your health to the point where you can't do your work anyway. So you should have just been watching out for yourself to begin with. And once I learned that lesson, my junior year, my senior year went a lot smoother, and I learned a lot from the experience. And I hope that you guys can also from hearing me talk about my personal experience. So yeah, make sure that you guys like and subscribe if you found this to be at all useful. If you guys have any questions or anything, go ahead and drop a comment. And I'll be back soon with another video. Thanks, guys.